Okay, I just listened to about an hour-long interview that Art Bell did with George Lutz. Now, Art Bell, George Noy took over coast to coast, and I got to the point where I didn't like George Norrie. I'm gonna get to that, later in this video. But now George Lutz, George and his wife Kathy had bought the Amityville Horror House, or what became known as. It's on Ocean Avenue somewhere in Amityville, New York. You can look that all up. That's all public record. But now, him and his wife Kathy had bought this house back in the mid '70s somewhere, and it had been the DeFeo house. I'm gonna get to those events a little bit, but now let's say my opinion of George Lutz. I've got a little bit higher opinion after listening to this interview, but now, like I said, George Lutz did. Well, he wrote a book too, but that was later turned into the movies, which were extremely hot. They were a lot of the events in the movies are Hollywood. They're not. They weren't real events. But like I said, George Lutz did take and pass a lie detector test, where he said he had witnessed his wife levitating. He had witnessed his wife turn into real old woman. And so I have trouble believing that, but. I'm gonna get to my reason for making this video at the end here, but now it's been investigated by a number of psychics and stuff, and that's kind of questionable on my part. Well, first, I don't believe that there are any real demons. Maybe there are evil humans that hang around as ghosts, and just form the basis for what becomes known as demonic possession. That's the only way I can kind of believe that. But now. Back maybe a year or so before the Lutzes had bought the house, this guy Ron DeFeo. Now his father, I don't remember his name. You can look this all up. It's a matter of public record, but he had a car dealership there in New York, and his son Ron. Well, apparently his son Ron had getting addicted to some bad drugs, and his father was gonna fire him, gonna disown him and kick him out and all that. And instead of the guy seeking some type of help, which is, in my opinion, what he really should have done, the father should have, or maybe he did, but try to get him to some type of rehab, try to help him. I said maybe he did, I don't know, but this kid, I don't know, was maybe teens or early 20s somewhere, but he took a rifle and he murdered his his family. I think his mother, father. Two brothers, two sisters, like that. Pretty good sized family. He murdered them all. Of course, he's been convicted. He's like in jail for the rest of his life, and it's unlikely he's ever going to get out of jail. I couldn't see that ever happening, especially as famous as this is. But now, according to George Lutz, some of the family members are there. Now, I certainly believe in ghosts. I believe that that murder victims probably going to have a little bit different view of the world, I suppose. They might want to come back, and of course, if they knew that their murderer had been convicted and was in jail for the rest of his life, they might feel a bit differently than someone that didn't get their just reward. I can't think what you call it, but they didn't get their resolution, or whatever you want to call it. But I can't see why they. Now, I think the Lutzes could have taken a little bit different take on this. My take on ghosts, I don't tell them, hey, I want you to leave. I want you to leave me alone. I don't feel that way at all. I try to talk to ghosts. I say, hey, whatever reason you're here is your own business, but but don't do anything mean to me. But if you're going to hide my stuff, after a little bit of time, bring it back. I've told that to ghosts, and they respected that. I don't try to kick them away. I don't try to bless a house and say, hey, I don't want you here, because I don't know. To me, knowing I got a ghost here kind of gives me reassurance that we go on as spirits, that physical death is not the end. That's kind of my comfort in knowing that the ghosts hanging around, and they bring me a bit of amusement. I find them interesting and amusing. Now let me get to George Norrie, why I don't particularly care for the guy. Now I used to listen to Coast to Coast when Art Bell, and I don't get why Art Bell just totally quit, because he, right after that he had another program. He had something on shortwave radio, and I had trouble picking it up, but I listened a little bit as best I could, but I didn't have a real good shortwave radio or good antennas here, but I could kind of get it. But it's an interview that George Norrie did with Sylvia Brown, And you could tell that George Doria completely hated Sylvia Browne. Now, Sylvia Browne was no angel. She had done some stuff early in her life, and I think she probably faked a lot of stuff. And but said I don't think George Doria should have treated her as meanly as he did. And that's one of the reasons I won't listen to Coast anymore, is because of the way that George Doria had treated Sylvia Browne. Now she's gone, and he can't come back and change anything. So I'm never going to listen to Coast ever again. But there's no end to. I got YouTube for my paranormal fix, man. There's no end to. I love a lot of the paranormal stuff here on YouTube. Another thing I want to cover now. It's another YouTube group, the paranormal kind of thing. I'll cover a separate video when I get to. But this group of 4 individuals had completely disappeared. I was watching the video. I'd never heard this group. It was started in 2005, and it disappeared in 2007 or something. And but there's quite a bit of material on this group. Now, when the first thing I thought, I kept flashing back to Blair Witch, because this had all the earmarks of Blair Witch, that type of thing. Where this is a publicity stunt for some movie or something, and this may well be. But apparently, this group had completely disappeared. And there's all kind of theories. It kind of goes back to that. What was that Beatles one? George is Dead thing. They just did it for the publicity of it, or it just kind of formed an urban legend or something, and they grew out of that. Maybe this group was murdered, or maybe they fell through a doorway through dimensions. I don't know. It's kind of interesting. I'm going to do a separate video on this group because it's kind of interesting. But now the main reason I'm making this video, now I want to go to some place that's demonically haunted. I challenge anyone. Show me a place that's demonically haunted that I can go in there with my camera. Now, I'm not great on YouTube. I'm not well known. I'm not good at it. I may never get super good at it, but if I keep making videos and put a little bit more effort into it, maybe I can get good. But I want to see, I want to witness, I want to get on camera in a way that I can convince maybe not everybody, but at least a few of the hardcore skeptics that there are places. I want someone to convince me some places are demonically haunted. Now, maybe I'm opening that Pandora's box of a place I don't want to go or would regret having gone. I don't know, but I challenge somebody, show me a place that's demonically haunted. Again, I believe in ghosts. I've interacted with them. I know ghosts are real. I know they're the spirits of once living human beings, but maybe I want to say the good in everybody. I don't know. That's who I am. Because I definitely want to say the good in everybody. Okay, love y'all. Let's all have fun. Let's, I don't know. I seriously doubt anybody is gonna show me a demonically haunted place. Bye-bye.